Hi, and welcome to this live reading from Elemental Fire, The Hidden Realms, #1 by E.G. Manetti, and this is presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Chapter 1, Friday, October 14th, Sin. Census alert, almost invisible in a museum guard's uniform. I scanned the crowd milling among the display cases filled with gold relics from medieval Europe. A collection that, despite some of the best security in the world, lost $10 million worth of artifacts in Washington, D.C., and another $5 million in Chicago. Boston has no intention of adding to the tally. The museum also has a security chief who knows about my special gift and the budget to pay my rates. Unlike most humans, I can see through glamour. With the Veil Treaty, visitors from the Hidden Realms can only use glamour to navigate the Terran realm without frightening or beguiling the natives. For the most part, it works, but every species has its bad seeds, and there are over a dozen hidden species and counting. Because there are so many realms and species, Terrans have come to refer to all those who come from the other side of the veil as hidden. The representatives of the hidden realms reacted badly when the media referred to them as the Fae. A Northern European term, it lumps disparate realms together while excluding those that historically did not interact with that part of Terra. For the most part, the treaty doesn't use the word planet except where it defines Earth and its satellites as Terra. Astronomers, physicists, and a host of other scientists have debated the nature of the hidden realms for over a decade without resolution. The hidden realms may occupy planets as Terrans understand them, but the elders have been less than forthcoming with the exact nature of their realms. Until, or unless, Terra achieves interstellar travel, I doubt we'll have answers. I ignore the trio of yellow dwarves. Low-level hidden, the digital security cameras will catch their real appearance, their glamored facade, a semi-transparent shadow like a double exposure. Although the hidden have been visiting Terra for all of human history, they only came out of the veil when digital imaging technology became so prevalent that they could no longer hide. In DC and Chicago, everything was normal until the alarm screeched over an empty display case. In DC, the thief used the veil to come in after hours. Since then, silver-coated iron grates cover the display cases when the museum is closed. Chicago's heist was midday, the perpetrator blending in with the tourists. If the thief is going to try again, there are only 3 days left. After that, the collection returns to Europe, where it will be locked in a vault until defenses capable of defeating the hidden can be installed. An elegant couple leans over the guardrail. Their elongated features, lavender skin, and oversized eyes have me poised for the shimmer of their glamour extending to cover the case. Amethyst elves have the power to create and hold an illusion that will deceive digital cameras, and they don't require a fixed portal to pass through the veil. The elves take a selfie and move on, leaving me wondering about their glamour. From their attire, the security cameras will capture well-to-do professionals. I glimpse a fang and pivot. Vampire costume. Halloween isn't for 2 weeks, but already the costumes are coming out. By far my least favorite holiday, the hidden love it. They can mingle freely without their glamour. The child's wail jerks my attention to the far side of the room. 3 women are clustered around the source of the cry, attempting to soothe it. To my right, I catch the telltale shimmer of glamour extending. Taser in hand, I fly across the floor, vault the guardrail, and tackle a slender figure in jeans and a college hoodie. Twisting and bucking, it slams me into the side of the case, its hood falling back. I'm staring into bulbous yellow eyes and a flat, pale green face marked with emerald whorls. An imp. It makes sense. They are clever, mischievous, and a great deal stronger than they look. Some would-be good Samaritan grabs the back of my jacket. Leave the kid alone! Instead, I jab the stun gun under the imp's chin and hit the trigger. She emits an ear-piercing shriek before her eyes roll back in her head and she goes limp. Gasps and a strangled, "What the hell?" let me know the glamour has dropped, as does the screeching alarm from the violated display case. With the imp's hands behind her back and iron-coarse cuffs, she's not getting through the veil. 3 sets of zip ties on her ankles will keep her from running. I glance up from frisking my captive. The crowd is dispersing under the encouragement of 3 guards and the ear-splitting alarm. By the time the security chief arrives, the imp and I are all that remain. I hand over a gold cuff and necklace. Nothing else in her clothes, but there are 4 coins missing. Leaning against the elevator wall, I check my appearance in the shiny doors. Dressed for a party, the reflected woman shows no sign that 2 hours ago she was observing an imp undergoing a strip and cavity search. Fruitlessly, as it turned out. A portable x-ray revealed the coins in her abdominal region. She must have swallowed them, and that's her jailer's problem. The black leather skirt and burgundy camisole are new and mold to my toned curves. My favorite black ankle boots make my legs look longer, the short heel adding 1.5 inches to my 5'4". I'm no movie star, but attractive enough with dark brown eyes and wavy dark brown hair that I keep short. When I take the time to clean up and dress up, I don't have any trouble attracting men. Finding them attractive is another matter, and my track record with relationships is less than stellar. A few fumbling forays in college, some intermittent attempts at dating that turned into a few unsatisfying hookups since, and one brief ill-advised relationship. The last ended almost a year ago, which is one of the reasons I've abandoned my standing Friday night date with my vibrator in favor of my former college roommate's party. Another is that my contract ended when I captured the art-thieving imp. I have nowhere to be in the morning, and I'm wired from the adrenaline rush. A 5-mile run barely took the edge off. Without an outlet, I'll be staring at the ceiling until dawn. If all goes well, I might end my losing streak with men. At worst, I will end up arguing philosophy, religion, or politics with another inebriated partier until the wee hours. I half turn and shrug, the black leather jacket moving with me. So worn it fits like it was tailored, it's loose enough to hide the Ruger 5-shooter holstered at the small of my back. I don't expect to need it tonight, but after years in law enforcement and private security, I'm uncomfortable without it. The elevator opens to a hallway as elegant as the lobby. Serena Fletcher comes from money. Her trust fund allows her to live in a luxury condo in Cambridge while working for the district attorney. We couldn't have been more different, the polished young socialite from Boston and the awkward nerd girl from the western Massachusetts boondocks. Although Uncle Phil and Aunt Claire have plenty of money from their car dealerships, it was only at Granddad's insistence that they provided me with house room. Scholarships, loans, and part-time jobs got me through college. Serena's encouragement gave me the confidence to start my own business. The muffled party sounds emanating from behind her door encouraged me to push it open without trying the knocker or bell. The crowded living area is larger than my studio apartment. Serena's cocktail parties start at 7 o'clock and rarely end before midnight. A pudgy Thor gives me a loose grin. Biker chick, you should have ink. He leans in, bourbon wafting on his breath. Show me your ink and I'll show you my hammer. It's not even 9. Either he's a lightweight or he's been slamming shots. I push past him, looking for either Serena or the bar. I locate both by the kitchen. At 6 feet, Serena has both the looks and figure to be a runway model, and no problem carrying off her skin-tight onyx elf costume. With her ebony complexion contoured with silver paint, her black eyes covered with gold enlarging contacts, and a wig of long ash gray micro braids, she is stunning and a far cry from her buttoned-down courtroom persona. As soon as I reach her, she pulls me into a hug. About time, where have you been? A costume party? You could have warned me. Where would be the fun in that? At my expression, her laughter turns to a soft smile. If I warned you, you wouldn't have come, and I haven't seen you since Labor Day. Did something happen at the museum? Caught the perp. Imp. High cast from the markings. Imp. I thought there was another word for scamp. My brother's always calling his youngest a little imp. More like a mischievous fairy. Think Puck from a Midsummer Night's Dream, and almost as slippery. It took a stun gun and iron core cuffs to hold her. Serena grabs the single malt and pours the generous 3 fingers. This calls for a drink. She reaches for her half-full glass of red wine as I say, take a sip of whiskey and hum in appreciation. Before she can get too excited about the bust, I say, you won't get to prosecute. The elders will ransom someone of that power level. Her gold relic's worth $15 million? Plus fines and interest. After a decade and a half, Terran understanding of the hierarchies and politics of the realms beyond the veil remains sketchy. But I've learned a few things in a decade of chasing down the felonious elements among the hidden. Whatever it takes, the elders will not allow a creature of power to remain in terror for prosecution. Serena shrugs. It's not like Boston would have jurisdiction. Your HRAC buddies will be all over it. I wouldn't call them buddies. Chartered by the UN Security Council, the Hidden Realms Affairs Council is a global agency for the apprehension and incarceration of Hidden Realms felons. Commonly pronounced HRAC, it's exempt from a lot of due process requirements in the name of Terran security. Hidden who end up in HRAC prisons are rarely seen again. Recruited out of college, I spent 5 years in the field before the combination of bureaucracy and institutional paranoia drove me to freelance. I took care to keep the separation amicable, but I prefer to minimize my contact with HRAC. Sipping my drink, I scan the party, looking for a change of subject. A figure in a horned helmet, sleeveless vest, and snug leather pants catches my attention, or more accurately sets my hormones roaring. Angel Wings, who's the Viking? She laughs. Still with the angel bits? You're all grown up now, you know. My childhood was strict, and profanity brought on harsh consequences. Old habits die hard. The Viking. My next door neighbor. He is kind of hot in a Ryan Reynolds sort of way. I snort single malt. Serena rubs my back. Spill it, Sin. What do you see? The only thing he has in common with Ryan Reynolds is that they are both 6 feet tall. Your neighbor is crimson with black eyes, fangs, and a cut body that would shame Henry Cavill at his Witcher best. A demon. My next door neighbor is a demon? Not a demon. The hidden aren't of heaven or hell. Half of them don't believe in either. Tell that to the Human Protection Society. My Uncle Phil is a card-carrying member of the HPS, which tells you how much I value their opinions. Ever since the hidden came out of the veil, there have been humans convinced they are all satanic minions. It doesn't help that in negotiating the Veil Treaty, the elders defined their populace as creatures of the hidden realms. Serena's lips pucker. Your uncle's a piece of work, as was your granddad. You can almost sympathize with your mother for taking off. Although he passed before I was 5, my granddad named me. He also adored Uncle Phil. So I can sympathize with my absent mother, but only to a degree. She should have taken me with her. Give myself a mental shake. I make it a point not to dwell on my childhood, and the Crimson Guy is a lot more interesting. I take another sip. He's not an elf, handsome but rugged, not pretty like the elves. I'm not sure what he is. How long has he been your neighbor? Serena taps the side of her glass with one perfect fingernail. August, before Labor Day, but after the 4th of July. Quiet, polite. Introduce me. I get the side eye. I thought you liked the clean-cut Captain America type. I've always gravitated toward the clean-cut good guys, but it never worked out. I never felt much physically. Nothing like what I'm feeling for this stranger. Angel spit. Have my family's attitude screwed me up more than I realize? I'll work that out later. Maybe it's time I broaden my horizons. Her eyebrows rise. You've met all sorts of hidden. This is the first time I've seen you so taken with one. As a child, I poured through every color of fairy book. As a teenager, the revelations of the Veil Treaty were life-altering. My fascination has withstood exposure to their worst element, but she's right. Not even the elves have generated such a visceral reaction. I'm curious. I've never seen anything like him. Don't scare him off. He's a good neighbor. The last one had people coming and going at all hours. She was either dealing or something else shady. At our approach, Crimson Dude turns from the Tinkerbell he's chatting up. I was mistaken. He's more like 6'3" or 4. His hair is as black as his eyes, straight and silky to his shoulders. His eyebrows are black slashes with the slightest tilt at the outer edge. Not the hard angle of a Star Trek Vulcan, but not a human curve either. My breath catches when a wave of his power washes over me, a strange awareness that is part sound and part sensation. Only the most powerful of the hidden resonate in this way, and unlike with this guy, it's not always pleasant. Serena makes the introductions, and I try not to show my surprise. Radzik Cray is far too short to be the full name. His eyes embrace me with an openness appreciation before he bows over my hand. The silly, pretentious gesture is somehow graceful and compelling. His touch holds more heat than a human's. The contact amplifies his power print so that it laps at me like a warm current. His smile is devastating, sending little shocks of desire through me, tightening the muscles below my navel. It also confirms the wicked-looking fangs I glimpsed from across the room. Cynthia, a delight to meet you. Sin. It's a common mistake, and I return a smile to show I'm not offended. S-I-N. He straightens, releasing my hand and ending the pleasant power song. The angle of his eyebrows increases. Sin? That is an unusual name. My granddad was an unusual guy. Is Rad short for something? His baritone has a hint of a burr. Radzik, but I prefer Rad. I haven't detected anything that could be a weapon, and he isn't using glamour except to hide his demon-like appearance. No reason not to let him know I can see him. And Cray, that can't be all of it. First syllable of your clan affiliation? Those black brows snapped together. Who are you? Atrac? Just the rare human who can see through glamour. With a gun tucked in the small of her back, he sets aside his glass. Serena, it has been lovely. I reach out to touch his forearm. Hey, it's not like that. Half my clients are hidden, seeking a guide to Terran laws and customs. I'm curious, not hostile. His arm relaxes. His eyelids drop, and a sexy half smile appears. Curious. That smile and his rough baritone sends shocking, if pleasant, heat straight to my center. Never respond like this. Definitely curious. How did you know about the gun? I have an affinity for incendiary devices. His smile deepens. Let me grab a drink and we can get to know each other. I peer over the lip of my glass, mesmerized by the tiny flames dancing on Rad's fingertips. But then I've spent the last hour mesmerized by every aspect of Rad. I've become accustomed to his power print, finding it fades at arm's distance and intensifies with contact. I've heard of elementals, but he's the first one I've met. He's been a Terra resident for several years, engaged in the lucrative Terran Veil import-export trade. Half turned on the love seat to face him, I leaned forward for a better look. With the Viking helmet discarded, his glossy black hair catches the light from the dozen candles scattered around the balcony. Can you send fire away as well as summon it? He chuckles and the dancing flames disappear. I mean, you didn't summon to start with. 3 of the candles lighting the balcony go out, and I laugh in surprise and delight. The power of his presence, coupled with his playful attitude, is pushing all my buttons in the best way possible. Are there earth, air, and water elementals? There are. He mirrors my position, our knees touching, intensifying my awareness of both his power and his maleness. I would know more about Sin Marston. Your ability to penetrate glamour suggests hidden ancestry. Do you know the species? When the Hidden Realms elders revealed themselves, the school authorities stopped trying to medicate me against my delusions and had me checked for hidden DNA. It turns out that psychics, among others, are descendants of one type of hidden or another. Generally, the hidden DNA is so diluted they aren't acknowledged by a species or clan, but the genetic blend means they are also not human. These realm mixed, or Y inhabitants of Terra, are classed as Terrans, as distinct from the subset that is pure human. I was tested at 17, and they found nothing. His fingers trace my kneecap. Odd. Are there many like you? A few. Atrac claims to have a dozen, but I only met 2. As his fingers dance close to my skirt hem, I realize I should come clean about my affiliation. I met 2 during the 5 years I worked at the Atrac. His fingers still. You said you weren't with Atrac. I'm not. Almost 5 years now. They recruited me out of college. I learned investigation and security protocols there, but it wasn't a place I could make a career. His black eyes narrow. Why not? Too bureaucratic, too paranoid, too much of us versus them groupthink? He blinks and nods. The hidden are susceptible to the same. What do you do now? You mentioned clients. Private security and investigations. About half of my clients are Terran companies and law enforcement agencies who suspect hidden of criminal behavior. The other half are hidden visiting Terra, wishing to avoid behavior that will bring them into contact with law enforcement. Next week, I'm escorting a group of goblins on a tour of Salem. His eyes widen and he barks a laugh. How did you encounter goblins? A referral from some gins I escorted to New Orleans for Mardi Gras one year. I have social media accounts, but most of my work is from repeat customers or referrals. He slides closer, his hands finding my waist. Delicious ripples of pleasure expand from the point of contact. He's back to being interested. Am I? The hidden limit their involvement with Terrans to hookups or brief affairs, not because they don't value us, but because our lives are so short compared to theirs. I've known of a few instances of committed hidden Terran couples, but they are rare. Of course, the minute we kiss, this intense attraction could fade to nothing as it has with guys in the past. His thumb stroked my waist. In law enforcement, what did you do for them? His lips were so close, another inch, and I can brush them with mine. Today, I caught the imp behind the medieval gold thefts. His head jerks back, ruby flares in his eyes. You did what? Caught an art thief? How long ago? Those are definitely flames in his eyes. Where's the imp? Does Atrac have her? Her? How did you know the imp was female? His hands tighten, fangs visible as the deadly predator emerges from the charming diplomat. The elders will not be pleased. Heart hammering, I reach for the Ruger. I've experienced elves going from charming to deadly between one breath and the next. If the elders are behind the theft of Terran art treasures, the Security Council and the HRAC won't be pleased. His eyes widen, the ruby shifting to amber as chagrin fills his expression. His hands lift from my waist. My apologies. It was the shock. I ease away, keeping my hand on the gun. Doesn't like HRAC, import-export, knows about the art thief. Are you part of some kind of hidden mafia? Because I don't care how hot you are, that's a non-starter. He chokes a laugh. Hidden mafia? Not a real thing. With the return of the charming diplomat, I relax a little. He runs a hand through his hair. Again, my apologies. I should not have. He shakes his head. The amber flickers die out as his expression fills with remorse. You do not need your weapon. I intend you no harm. He startled me, but now that I think about it, his reaction was more shock than hostility. I released the grip. There's a very dangerous being beneath your charming exterior. He shrugs. I am trained as both a warrior and diplomat, and my concern for the imp and her mission is well-founded. When the exhibit went on tour, we recognized a dozen of the artifacts. They should not be on this side of the veil. Those relics have been on this side of the veil for centuries without a problem. Muscle jumps in his jaw. The first item stolen, the diadem. What do you know about it? He underestimates me. I did my homework. It was found in the burial mound of a 5th century Germanic nobleman by a 19th century archaeologist. It was part of a private collection until donated. Why? That nobleman was an obscure second son until he got possession of the diadem. It made him invulnerable in battle, but twisted him into a savage torturer of enemies and innocents alike. When he was overthrown, his name was erased from all records and the diadem buried with him to be rid of it. Although investigation into the history of the area around the burial site will show an excessive amount of brutal violence, that one only needs proximity to corrupt. Chilling if true. Didn't get a hint of vibration from the necklace or cuff. Let's say I believe the artifacts are bad news. Why not purchase them from the collection? The elders tried through an intermediary. They did not reveal themselves for fear that if it became known they were objects of Hidden Realm's power, the artifacts would disappear. When that failed, they tried petitioning the HRAC, but they were rejected. Theft was the only option. It doesn't make sense that HRAC wouldn't help with dangerous artifacts. It exists to prevent the hidden from causing mayhem on Terra and maintain the benefits of trade. He takes a deep breath. HRAC demanded a consulate beyond the veil in return for the objects. There's no way the elders would agree to that. Terrans aren't permitted to travel beyond the veil. Establish an outpost? Not a chance. Would HRAC risk leaving dangerous artifacts where they could influence the public to achieve their aims? Yeah. The self-serving ambition of the HRAC leaders is one of the many reasons I don't work there. So the elders arranged to steal them, with every intention of remuneration to the collection. Remuneration? I wonder when Rad learned English. I don't get why you're so upset. So the latest theft was stopped and the imp captured. The elders will ransom her, and after Sunday, all the nasty artifacts she didn't steal are going back into a vault. The elders can make another run at purchasing them. What do you imagine HRAC will demand for ransom? I missed the obvious. The outpost that the elders will not grant. But would the elders allow her to languish in an HRAC detention facility? His expression turns grim. No. He doesn't need to draw a picture. If the elders can't ransom the imp, she won't live long enough to reach a detention facility. Would it influence the elders if they knew she swallowed 4 gold coins? He straightens. Mlith has the coins? I reclaimed the cold cuff and necklace, but an x-ray showed the coins in her belly. She probably still has them. Those were the last critical items. If we can rescue Mlith before she releases the coins, it might be all right. The necklace and cuff are only dangerous if they are recharged with magic. Recharged? He shrugs. Even powerful charms drain after centuries of use, and those were heavily used. That would explain why they didn't resonate. The coins still have magic? Some, but what makes them truly dangerous is that they can be recharged by means other than magic. He shakes his head and grasps my shoulders. Will you help me rescue Mlith? He cannot be serious. Did you miss the part where I was paid to capture her? But you did not know the truth of the situation. Now you do. I want to believe him, to trust him. I also want to kiss him. A definite sign of compromised judgment. Don't be offended, but even though I'm inclined to believe your story, I'm not going to aid and abet a felony without some solid corroboration. As you wish. I don't even see him move before I'm crushed against him, my head pressed to the crook of his neck. His skin is satin smooth, redolent with burnt sugar and ginger. It sets my senses alight as it soothes my heart and soul. Before I can take another breath, the world falls away, replaced by dense fog and roaring wind. For a minute, it feels like being swept along by a hurricane, and then the wind slows and the roaring fades. Pinks, blues, and golds streak the fog and then dissipate to reveal a massive marble hall that begins to spin as my vision tunnels.